Don-O-Mite!
It's Dynamite!
Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite!
So Dynamite!
This is awesome! This is this, this is that, this is this! Hey everybody, have a great time!
I'm not one of these f***ing goof podcasters out there. I am Don Tony, Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite! Sorry for spoiling it last week for everybody that follows me on Twitter at DonTonyD. As you can see, there aren't double takes and triple takes in NXT or AEW, but looking back on it, do we have a repeat of January 4th, 1999? Not sure. I guess we'll find out tomorrow with the ratings, but I want to welcome everybody to this edition of Wednesday Night Dynamite. I am Don Tony. It is July 8th, 2020. AEW and NXT are not even off the air 10 minutes. And I got to tell you, you know, it's an interesting selection as far as the matches that went down tonight. I got to be honest with you. If you take away the main event for NXT tonight, I thought it was not Great American Bash material. Opening match, yes. Closing match, definitely. In the middle, though, it did not really keep my interest all that much, but we'll talk about both shows. Got some other news to get into. By the way, shout out to everybody who is tuning in live tonight. Much love as always. And I want to give a special shout out to a good member of the Donzilla Army. His name is Dinesh. He's a YouTube semi-bigwig. You know, he is the one that knows all this technical shit, algorithms and this and this and this. And he reached out to me over the weekend and he's like, DT, let me help you a little bit on YouTube. There's been a lot of people who have offered help for yours truly. But usually either you don't give this, you know, they don't want nothing to do with you, or they claim that they know how to do this, this, and this. This guy, first of all, you know, I know a lot of you out there weren't getting notifications when the shows were going to go live. Now, you should know by now, Mondays 11:05, Wednesdays 10:05 Eastern Standard, Fridays 10:05, right after pay-per-views. And we get your special shows once in a while, and soon I'll be debuting another show here on this channel. And 1/1/21. 1/1/21. Oh, I can't wait for that day. You know, last summer I started teasing this change thing on Twitter. I don't think a lot of people took it seriously. And hey, the Donzilla Army has invaded YouTube. I love it. Nothing but love, nothing but positive. July is goof-free month. We will stick to that, even though some people might have called me a goof for what I did on Twitter last week. You know, we'll get into it. I avoided it on Friday. But now we can actually talk about it since NXT went off the air. Congratulations to Keith Lee, who is the NXT not only North American champion, but the World Heavyweight champion. So much for those take twos and take threes and alternate endings. What was this, Hollywood? You think you had the bonus footage, the alternate endings? You know, nice try. But I tell you, I'm not going to lie. Yes, Dave Anthony, absolutely. I have it queued up, all ready to talk about as well. We have a new champion tonight as well. You know, not me. FTW, fuck the world champion. Yeah, we've been saying fuck the world for a very long time. And since last year, I've been social distancing way before COVID came around. But Brian Cage, tonight, the new FTW World Heavyweight Champion. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Taz brought back the belt. Taz brought back the belt. There it goes, the FTW World Heavyweight Champion, giving it to Brian Cage. You know, I get a kick out of people out there They weren't even sperm. They weren't even embryos in 1997, 98, 99. Then you got the over the hill gang out there that just want to get attention, that are complaining about the FTW title, comparing it to TNA and this and that. You cannot take a title that was from the late 90s and try to use that era and try to base what's going on in 2020 to shit on it. And when that title came out, you know, you got to think of the whole storyline with Taz and ECW and No Respect and everything that went down when he was supposed to team up with Sabu, and then Sabu left for Japan, and then he left, and then Taz turned, you know, heel, and then they set up Barely Legal, which was the main event of Taz versus Sabu. Yes, Terry Funk, you know, 53 years old, God bless him at the time. Terry Funk, Raven, you know, after the three-way, remember the three-way that led to Raven versus Terry Funk. But, you know, Taz, the whole storyline at that time, you know, fuck the world. You know, he's the human suplex machine, the one-man army, and he created his own title. Think about it, late 90s, you had the NWO being spray painted on titles. You cannot look at it as like, oh, desperation, bringing back an old belt, it's ugly, it's this, it's that. It's part of history. The belt hasn't been used much at all. It gives a little bit of a different storyline in AEW. Honestly, if anybody out there is going to complain because of belt, and what boggles my mind is most of the people complaining aren't even fans of AEW. They're not even fans of it. So honestly, when you see people do that, just ignore them. Just ignore them, or you act like when you were in school. You know, when you were in school and you had this annoying nerd, they don't, you know, nerds, you know, you see the movies Revenge of the Nerds, and nerds usually have the quintessential, you know, look to themselves, or they go, Well, in this day and age of 2020, nerds are all shapes and sizes. Nerds could look like GQ models, not me, but, you know, so when you used to get annoying nerds in school that thought that they had, like, the one-liner or the, you know, just like, hey, what's up, guys? You just, like, laughed them off. Like, yeah, you're fine. Get away. That's what you got to do with people online. They brought back the belt. It's a little bit of a different dynamic. Brian Cage proclaiming himself, you know, the FTW heavyweight champion. Fuck the world. The only problem I have with it is you have, everything is 3 letters. And it kind of leads. It's like AEW, WWE, NXT, GAB, FTW, FTR, FTD, STD. It's like, hey, too many 3 letters. Hashtag 3 letters. Robbie wants me to do the laugh again. And you know what the funny thing is? When I did that a while back, you know, I don't rehearse. You know, I don't go through the years and say, oh, let me see if I could imitate a nerd all that well, you know? But AEW 8-man, Espinosa thinks it was match of the year. I wouldn't go to that extent. But look, if it's match of the year for you, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. If you look, I saw somebody post the spoilers for AEW Fyter Fest Night 2. I didn't talk about them on Friday, you know, because number one, I wasn't sure if they were accurate or not. By the time Private Party came out in their match against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, I realized that the spoilers were pretty much on point. So you already knew what was going to go down tonight on Dynamite. You know, and I look at it like, you know, the guy that posted the spoilers, at the end of what he wrote for Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, he said that Orange Cassidy has this Daniel Bryan vibe, that he's getting over, that he's got this following, not on the level of Daniel Bryan, but he's on his way. You know, and I look at that, I'm like, you know, if I want to be an asshole, I'll be like, what was this guy smoking? You fucking nuts? Then it was the lowest quarter rating in the history of AEW 2 weeks ago, you know. But if in his eyes he looks at Orange Cassidy like that, so what? Big deal. You know, just because, like Espinoza, you know, in-ring match, excellent, excellent match tonight, without question. But if you feel that that is your favorite match of the year, absolutely. Last year, a lot of people felt that, what was it, Pete Dunne versus Walter, I think it might have been. Well, some people thought that could have been match of the year. I loved the match. But, you know, was it my match of the year? No. I thought Adam Cole was the wrestler of 2019. You know, how much weight he put on his shoulders for NXT. A lot of people disagree with me. So if you enjoyed the match that much, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And I agree, Mr. Espinoza. Jim Cornette, he's going to have a field day with tonight's shows. You know, that's his right, man. You know, to me, Jim Cornette, you know, I've already expressed my views on him over the years. He is very old school. That will never change. You know, once you create like a vendetta against someone, you know, Joey Janela could become the #1 wrestler in AEW and Jim Cornette will still shit on it. There's just, it's not going to change. He is set in his values. And if you relate to his values, that's fine. You respect it. I think at the end of the day, you have to you don't have to agree with everyone as far as your favorites or not, but, you know, just respect other people's views on it. You know, look at Monday. They, you know, redesigned the United States Championship. And, you know, I saw some photos being posted online, and the contrast was so awful of the pictures of the title. I'm sure a lot of you saw what I was talking about. It made that title look ridiculous. People were saying, oh, it looks worse than the TNT Championship. And by the way, they said during Dynamite tonight that Cody was going to defend the title next week, but they didn't say who it is. I could tell you it's probably announced online by now, but Cody will defend the TNT Championship next week against Sonny Kiss, which I think we already know Cody will retain. But I'm very happy that Sonny Kiss is finally getting some play on AEW Dynamite. Better late than never, in my honest opinion. But we'll get into some more comments in a little bit. But again, with the FTW title, you know, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's a storyline. He gave a belt. You know, whoever holds that belt is the baddest son of a bitch in wrestling. You don't like it? Just don't pay attention to it. I mean, nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head out there to watch what you want to watch, enjoy what you want to enjoy. Anybody out there that tells you that they have to do something, they're either a closet fan and they think it's more cool to look like a renegade, or they just need the attention. I respect everybody's views on there, whether we agree or not on certain things. As far as Keith Lee being a double champion right now, you know, they're not going to go with the 2 belts thing. You know, you had Bayley, dos belts, and Sasha was some other phrase, and Keith Lee, you know, they'll change the words because Becky's got to be the only one with Becky 2 belts. I think Keith Lee's double reign as champion will be short-lived. As the cameras went off the air tonight, Karrion Kross is shown in the back watching from the rafters with Scarlett Bordeaux, and he's got the look on his face like, plan, you know, all right, we're ready to go. You know, the funny thing is, 2 weeks ago, I came up here on 3 weeks ago, and I said that Keith Lee will beat Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. And then for 2 weeks, they will hype the idea of title versus title. And people are like, oh, what's going to happen to Adam Cole? And, blah, 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 and he's going to leave. And I thought Karrion Kross would come out in the end, attack both Keith Lee. Because remember, Keith Lee broke the, you know, the timer, you know, the sand timer, the hourglass. He broke it. That's to plant the seed. Future storyline. Adam Cole already had a little bit of verbiage with Karrion Kross. So I thought 3 weeks ago You know, Keith Lee advances, title versus title, hype it for 2 weeks. People get their balls in a bunch. And then at the very end, Karrion Kross comes out, lays them both out, stands tall in the middle of the ring, and nobody's belts change hands. That's the story. That's what I said. Well, last week, July 2nd, on Twitter, I tweeted, that's not the story. So in case you all, and I know it's a very bad picture, not very good quality. With all due respect to Saurav Gujar, get a fucking real phone with fucking good pixels. What do you got, a disposable phone out there? What is this? I mean, we're in 2020. You know, 2020, you could record HD 4K quality on an iPhone. It's not a bad looking picture, but man, for those that don't know, last Thursday, excuse me. No, I think it was last Thursday, yeah. This photo came out. For those that don't know, Saurav Gujar of Indira's Shear of NXT. He was one of the NXT fans in attendance watching the Great American Bash week 2. And he shoots this picture of Keith Lee winning the belt. Now, for those that don't know, Keith Lee was actually interviewed either today or yesterday about the spoilers that leaked out. And Keith Lee, you know, was basically like, look, it doesn't bother me, but, you know, it's just a shame that people try to spoil it and ruin it for others and this and that and putting guilt trips on people online who you know, spoiled it for others. Funny thing is Keith Lee, you know, you didn't say a peep about Saurav Gujar for putting the picture on in the first place. You know, now what happens to that tag team because of this, I have no idea. In the end, this might have been a blessing in disguise. This may be 1-4-99 all over again. It might be 1-4-99 all over again. And for people that don't know what I'm talking about, that maybe weren't even sperm at that time as well, or embryos, whatever you want to call it, January 4th, 1999 was the infamous night where they had the spoilers of Mick Foley winning the WWF Championship. And that night, Tony Schiavone on Monday Nitro, right before, I think the Finger Poke of Doom was also that same night. A lot of people, I don't think, ever put those two together, but I think the same night was the Finger Poke of Doom, you know, with Nash and Hogan. But Tony Schiavone says that night, and I quote, fans, don't even think about changing the channel because we learned that our competition, Mick Foley is going to win their world title. Ha! That'll put butts in the seats. Well, 600,000 people live, I think 600,000 people changed the channel to see Mick Foley win the belt. Now, this wasn't live, obviously, but you had 6 days of this floating around the net. Keith Lee is going to win their world title. That'll put butts in the seats. So this might actually have boosted NXT's ratings even more because of what happened. Now, NXT, you know, had that main event tonight. How many of you out there, you know, Tony Schiavone was hosting this puppy battle royal that was supposed to go down. We all thought the puppy battle royal was happening tonight on AEW Dynamite, Fyter Fest, week 2. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, if Keith Lee and Adam Cole, because he was in the match as well, if they pop an insane rating tonight, and right before the Jericho Orange Cassidy, and by the way, I'm paying a little tribute to Chris Jericho tonight. You know, this is one of the shirts that is currently on sale, 1990 Le Champion. So, look, Chris Jericho could still go. Is he past his prime? Absolutely. When Chris Jericho tweeted that his match with Orange Cassidy is one of his most proudest in his 30-year career, I think that might be stretching it a little bit. But, you know, Chris Jericho is trying to help elevate Orange Cassidy, too. So, you know, I don't knock it, but, you know, it might be a little stretch. But look, you have WWE announcers and wrestlers in the ring claiming that this is the greatest thing ever and blah, 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 blah. And in all my years of commentating, this is the most, you know, epic. This happens every year. something is the greatest ever, the best ever, you know, the WrestleMania of the ages, the match of the decade. You know, people like to overhype stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. But I was thinking tonight, imagine if this puppy battle royal airs on TV, even at the beginning of Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. And if AEW pops a horrible rating tonight, and if there's a down spiral that continues, now it would be a stretch to look back on it and say the puppy battle royal is just, you know, but you could just imagine. You can imagine if AEW crashes and burns, which I don't think is going to happen. But if AEW were to crash and burn within the next couple of years or you know, a year or two from now, and they go back and do some type of video on it, you could just imagine people putting on a simulcast Keith Lee winning the title and puppy battle royal on AEW. So I was kind of like hoping, you know, that we would get the puppy battle royal just to see how the net would react to it. But it's on the YouTube channel. So for all of us that thought it was going to air on TNT tonight, no, it's on the YouTube channel. But I'll say this, you know, I've bought a couple of Cameo videos, and, you know, I bought it for 4 people already. And all 4 times, it's people who have entertained me, who lost their jobs. And all 4 times I sent messages to them. I said, look, I don't want a video in return. Just want to, you know, send something, you know, just to show my appreciation and this and that. And one I've actually kept in a little bit of communication with since. But I went on Cameo today, and I looked up Tony Schiavone. And his Cameo account, now I don't know how long it's been unavailable, but his Cameo account is unavailable right now. Now, yes, last year I think somebody paid like $19 for him to, I guess, do the lyrics of some rap song. Pardon my French, everyone. Lick that pussy, look that pussy good, lick that pussy. I never heard the song. I don't know the lyrics, but I don't know if it's been unavailable since then. But A. Espinosa thinks that Nick Gage will be the first Cameo millionaire. You know, look, if Nick Gage could get a lot of Cameo videos, God bless him. God bless him. Especially after what went down with him several years ago, to see him, you know, turn it around. That's a guy that when he got into his troubles, he deserved every bit of criticism that was given, not just me, but the entire wrestling community. So to see Nick Gage turn it around and really, really, you know, working hard, and really working hard, there's no question. So if he can make bucks on Cameo, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. But getting back to Schiavone, I would have paid $200 tonight to hire Tony Schiavone to make a video, Cameo. And I would think Tony Schiavone right now could probably make a killing on Cameo. Not for licking pussy. Lick that pussy. Lick that pussy. No, 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 no. I don't know why he became unavailable. Maybe it's just his workload is too heavy right now. But I thought, man, can you imagine how many fans that would pay Tony Schiavone right now, you know, within reasonable money, to go on video and say, fans, don't even think about changing the channel because we learned that our competition, Keith Lee is going to win their world title. That'll put asses in the seats. Can you imagine how many non-AEW fans probably would have springed for some bucks just to pay Tony Schiavone? Tony Schiavone probably would go crazy. He would wake up and check his emails and see, you've got a Cameo, you've got a Cameo. And every time he clicks on it, it's like, you know, hey, Tony, you know, big fan. By the way, you know, could you do me a favor and just say, and just write that phrase over and over and over. So, now, Siraj Gujar last week posted that photo of Keith Lee. Thank you for the person who reminded me. I still got that photo up. I went on Twitter last week, and, you know, if you follow my show, you know, for a couple of weeks, I said, that's the story. That's the story. Karrion Kross, that's the story. I also said, if it ends up not being the case, that's a good thing too, because I'll be, I like when I'm wrong, because if you give me something on TV that I'm not expecting, cool. In this day and age, surprise is, enjoyable. Surprise is enjoyable. But, I went on my Twitter last Thursday and I said, I guess that's not the story. That's not the story. And I posted that photo. Pissed a lot of people off. And I said this on Friday. I'm not going to get into the whole rant again. And I'm sorry if anybody that got upset on my social media account. You know me. I'm doing this 23 years. I rarely, ever put spoilers up. Unless somebody really wants to be a scumbag about it. Then, like, if the spoiler was Karrion Kross after Great American Bash went off the air, let's say beat Keith Lee. Let's just say he beat Keith Lee for the North American Championship. It's already recorded. I would come up here and say to Mike Schmuck, I promise you, I will not give any spoilers tonight. I will not tell anyone that Karrion Kross won the NXT North American Championship tonight. I will not tell you that Mia Yim beat, that's what I would do, to be a wise ass. But the thing is, the only reason why I posted the spoiler last week is because after I did this show last Wednesday, I like to check social media to see what the overall consensus is on both shows. What people liked, what people disliked, some people that really overhype certain things. And when I went Thursday morning, I typed in the search box on Twitter, NXT Great American Bash. That's all I typed. I wanted to see because even though I follow 200 and some odd people on Twitter, I have about 90% of them muted because I just don't want to see the repetitive negative tweets over and over and over again. And there's some people out there that if I unfollow them from Twitter, major controversy. If it was up to me, there's about 40 people that I follow on Twitter that I wouldn't be following right now. But you gotta keep, the peace with a lot of people out there. Some people offer nothing. It's like when I talked about water chestnuts. You ever eat Chinese food with water chestnuts? They're like nice and crispy. The other day, because I'm on keto, I had boiled chicken with Chinese vegetables. My mom bought it for me. I was over there visiting. And I love water chestnuts. I love them. I love the crunch. I love how they taste. I never realized when you buy them in the can, in water, they taste like nothing. It's like crunchy cardboard. And one time I bought a can and I was going to eat them out of the can. I put it in a dish. I drained it and I started watching TV and I put it in my mouth and I'm like, this is nothing. It's bland. They offer nothing. It's almost like corn. You ever notice when you eat corn, you shit it out and it looks exactly the same? And then you find out that corn really has no nutritional value for the most part. When you eat it like that, you eat it, you poop, and it comes out the same way. So there's people out there that, just don't offer anything, offer no nutritional value. Like, they're like corn. So, the thing is that, what are we saying over here? Oh, Garth, if I reach 100,000 subscribers, I get a YouTube play button. Yeah. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the subscribe button. If you're, hit the like button if you're enjoying the show as well. We're on our way to 14,000. And like I said earlier, my friend, we're friendly. I mean, not close, but this guy Dinesh has been on YouTube from the beginning. He's helping me with algorithms and setting things up and using words and this and that. And now what's happening is, since Friday, my episodes are popping up like right at the beginning of search results. You type in AEW search box, like within 10 things, you got one of my episodes up there. So suddenly, like the number of people getting eyes on what I do is blowing up within the last week. It's almost mind-boggling. And he also fixed the notification thing, and it was really cool to see so many of you waiting to tune in for tonight's episode. And you got to also remember something. I know some people out there like to try to bait me to feuding with other YouTube podcasters. I have nothing but respect for other shows out there that do the same thing that I do. You just got to keep in mind that some of those podcasters out there have been on YouTube for years and years and years. They have built up a very loyal fan base. I have no desire of taking away their viewers. But when someone says to me like, oh, this person's got 100,000 subscribers and you only got 13. Well, that guy's been on YouTube for 10 years and I've been on YouTube for 4.5 months, 5 months. So let's see what happens 5 years from now if I'm still doing this stuff. And let's see what this channel looks like. So cream corn is good, John. I can't eat cream corn right now, but when you eat cream corn, what do you like about it? It's the butter and it's the cream. You could take that same recipe and put something else in it, and it would taste almost just as good. You could put tofu instead of corn, and it probably would taste just as good. So thank you, Ruperto. You know, DT's a straight-up New Yorker. I'm just straight up. Doesn't matter if I'm from New York or not, but definitely appreciate it. You know, just to get into, we have some other news to get into as well. I definitely want to get into a few other things, but I definitely would want to get some of your feedback too. Daniel San says he doesn't think Orange Cassidy is there yet. He's not there yet. He's not. He's not a major superstar. He is a big star for AEW. He has a very bright future ahead of him. The thing is that he is not, you know, the big ratings drawer, larger than life yet, you know, and I have said this for months and months and months. Orange Cassidy is, I'm not trying to put a play on words right now, but Orange Cassidy is best served in front of live fans. I don't mean AEW stars. I don't mean friends and family or people that work in the concession stand that are allowed to go. I'm talking about regular live fans, hundreds of them, because those fans interact with some of his moves. When he goes like this and the fans do what they do, I mean, just look at when Orange Cassidy first started doing some wrestling moves in AEW, that pay-per-view. And the crowd went fucking bonkers for this guy. And that is an energy, that is the ultimate, you know, fan recognition. You know, you try to poll social media, it's difficult times because there's people out there that will complain just for attention. But when you have live fans and they're all energized when you're doing stuff and they're popping for this, and that, you know, that's where you really know where somebody is on the food chain within your promotion. And, you know, look, his shirts sell very well. My God, I put up a poster in the back, you know, AJ Moore, you know, great artist. I always talk about, you know, Shaheen, but AJ Moore is just as talented. You know, I put his picture in the back, you know, because number one, a lot of you, you know, thought it would be cool to put in the back, but to show a little love and appreciation, you know? So, but he's just not on that level yet. And let's also say it might be a little bit unfair to compare, because you know this is happening right now. You know that people who are drooling to write one-liners about the ratings are all, they have blue balls right now. They're so, like, aroused to take a shot at Jericho and Orange Cassidy because of Jericho defending the ratings last week. And you saw what he wrote about the metrics, the demographics, and this and that. I talked about it Friday. You know, being higher in demographic is all that nice. When you're down 1 million viewers, 800,000 viewers, you know, even if your demographic is better than your competition, but the fact is that you lost half of those fans, those are your paying customers. And if they're not watching your product for free on a regular basis, what makes you think in your right mind that they're going to buy pay-per-views or shirts or hats? You know, I mean, I buy it because I enjoy the promotion. I have NXT stuff as well. You know, I just wanted to wear a black hat today. And it's a little comfy. It's a little comfy. But, you know, there's people out there that are drooling to compare Keith Lee, 1/4/99, possibly revisited, and Adam Cole, and then Orange Cassidy and Jericho. I think that's unfair. I think it's very unfair. And, here's something that I say to defend AEW right now. AEW, just like NXT is a marathon. Remember what Triple H said? It's a marathon, not a sprint. Triple H is continuing to go with the game plan. Now, for those that don't know, Triple H did an interview with Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated the last day or two. And when he was asked if NXT is holding the Great American Bash right now as competition to AEW's Fyter Fest, Triple H said, and I quote, "It's absolutely part of healthy competition. Anyone that thinks it isn't, to a degree, is being naive to the situation. You saw that back in the day when Clash of the Champions was counter-programming WrestleMania 4. At the same point, it cannot drive your booking decisions. Obviously, there's counter-programming decisions, but he can't tell exactly, you know, how this all came about." And he said a lot of the storylines right now are heading into the summer. So, you know, this goes exactly my point what I was going to say. You do not want to start manipulating your booking decisions simply because you know that your competition is going to air X match at X particular time. AEW right now is trying to take Kip Sabian and move him to the next level. Orange Cassidy, move him to the next level. Best Friends trying to move them to the next level. Private Party trying to move them to the next level. You know, and you could see some others. You can't suddenly derail all that simply because, wow, they're going to put Damian Priest versus Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross versus Adam Cole. And what do we got? Nyla Rose versus Kenzie Phillips. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe you don't want to put that match at a particular time part of your night that you know that NXT is going to put in that same spot. But you don't suddenly start pulling those people simply because, oh, we got to, you know, we have to, you know, give a bet. No, you just got to, you know, keep with the program. The problem with AEW, and I've said this before, is that some of the people that they really, really push are not all that spectacular and are nowhere any type of a ratings draw. And I feel bad for always bringing up the same example, but Kip Sabian is a perfect example of that. Look at the amount of airtime he's had on Dynamite, and look at the placement of his matches. And that guy probably belongs on AEW Dark. Not as necessarily a demotion. You know, you want him to come out with Penelope Ford, fine. You know, but, you know, you could see where some people, and I guess we could segue, you know, Roberto, when Roberto says it's a war. Dude, I've been saying it's a war since week one. I said that NXT, all right, is WWE, all right? But you might remember, week one, especially after when those ratings came out, you know, AEW, they poked the bear a little bit. And some of this might be reminiscent for some of you who are kind enough to tune in every week to what I do. But AEW early on poked the bear a little bit. Then they pulled back a little bit. Then they did some interviews, and Cody said stuff, and some others that, you know, we're not fools. You know, we know we're not, you know, in competition with NXT. We're just, you know, we're new. We're just, you know, establishing ourselves. We're building young stars, and blah, 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 blah. And they tried to pull back and say they're not trying to compete with NXT. They're just trying to put out there an alternative product. The problem is this. And I know I have said this in so many different ways over the last 41 episodes. Can't believe it's 41 already. But this is the best way I can describe what's going on Wednesday nights right now. That's why I am convinced within the next year, probably AEW has to move to Tuesday night or Thursday night. They have to. They have to. They have to. They have to. And even if they do move, nobody out there should be like, oh, you see, they caved in. NXT is too much competition, so they were forced to. It's like, you know, you want someone out of your neighborhood, and you harass them and taunt them, and you play loud music, and you yell, and then they finally decide to move, and you're like, hey, flex. We forced them out of the neighborhood. Yeah, we forced them to another night. No. If AEW and NXT are on different nights, both their ratings would go up. You can't look at it like, well, you know, they caved in. So what do you think's going to happen? If AEW moved to Tuesday or Thursday night, you think fans are going to be like, wow, they really like bowed down to NXT. I'm not going to watch them anymore. Man, who wants to be with a promotion that is forced to move to a different night? You know, I'm not going to watch them anymore. Anybody that does that, delete them. Delete. Get away from that stuff. But the best way I could describe NXT and AEW, I don't care if Cody says it, Triple H, or anybody else says the opposite. This is the deal. And I'm sorry if a little bit is repetitive, but it's like a diner, a restaurant that's been around for 40 years, for 50 years, the leader in sports entertainment, you know, for 50, 60 years. And let's say this big giant food chain launches some smaller food chains. And they got a particular restaurant that's been around, that is well established. And then you find out a block away, 2 blocks away, a tiny little diner opens up. Similar food, but, you know, yours is, you know, established, better chefs, this and that. And you got a couple of former workers that decide they're going to open their own restaurant a block or 2 away. The restaurant is a lot smaller. They're not looking to try to compete with the big restaurant. They just want to put their own thing out, an alternative, and this and that. Well, smart business, if I'm that giant restaurant, I don't give that tiny restaurant a chance to get big. Or if I start hearing a buzz that, holy shit, Chef Tell of AEW restaurant, man, this guy is cooking some unbelievable dishes. Well, guess what? Through a friend, I might say to, you know, that particular chef, hey, you know, you want to come work for us? You know, we'll pay you pretty good. Maybe ultimately that happens. But as far as the big restaurant goes, you do not give the smaller restaurant a chance to become big. Because when you have a billionaire, or, you know, I don't know what Shad Khan's total net worth is, when you got big bucks like that behind you and a network that is also willing to get behind you to a certain degree, you don't want to give it a chance to become big. Now, this ain't the mafia. All right, as much as people want to fantasize, you're not going to have Triple H and Vince McMahon, you know, have like, you know, Tony Khan wake up the next day and he looks over in his bed and there's a horse's head in the bed. They're not going to be sending bomb threats to shut down AEW stuff. The only way that they could prevent AEW from becoming ginormous is by putting on a great fucking product. That's the only way they could do it. Jay Shady, man, you know, a lot of people tell me like, oh, you know, ignore this troll, this and that. He actually does. Oh, I hit the wrong one. But hey, you could follow me on Twitter at DonTonyD, by the way. But hey, man, if he's gonna post super chats and contribute a little bit of fundage, you know, for the Don Tony Fund and the expenses, and, you know, we give back with the shows as well. You know, I don't mind, man. I could poke fun at myself. Yeah, I am a bachelor right now, and, you know, yeah, maybe I do need to have a better life. You know, 1/1/21. That's all I'm going to say. 1/1/21. 1/1/21 is going to be an awesome day. And I think January 1st, isn't New Year's Eve on a Friday night this week? Oh, my, this year? Oh, when the clock strikes midnight over here, you know, I think we'll have a nice, awesome announcement. And trust me, it's beautiful. It's not wise-ass, but haters will not enjoy it. But, so that's the deal. NXT and WWE does not want AEW. The wrestlers are happy. Competition is good. How many times over the years, even when TNA was around and then Impact Wrestling, even though Impact Wrestling really is not doing any damage right now at all. How many times do wrestlers in rival organizations always say, oh, competition is good. It's more places for the wrestlers to work. And if everybody's doing good, then we all do good and we all benefit from it. The wrestlers love this stuff. But at the end of the day, WWE management does not want AEW to get strong. That's bottom line. Bottom line. So whatever the ratings come out, even if NXT hands them their ass tonight, especially in the quarter hour of the main event, nobody should be finding that energetic and funny and throwing it in Jericho's face. You know, it's not fair, you know, especially to Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's not on that level yet. But, so, you know, we'll get into a few other things. But, you know, I want to mention this very quickly. You know, Impact Wrestling has Slammiversary next Saturday. And a couple of things that are going down that I think is a pretty big deal. And I'm going to talk about Brian Pillman Jr. in a minute because he was on AEW Dark this week. And there's a little controversy about, you know, what's going on with him and MLW. And I pretty much have, you know, basically, you know, figured out and did a little research. And what I tell you tonight is pretty much, you know, a done deal. But Impact Wrestling, you know, they're going to have Slammiversary next week. And what they're actually going to be doing, and this is the picture, all right? It is a CELL-ebration. CELL-ebration. It is Saturday, July 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is during the day. Now, yeah, it is kind of a crappy time to do this. But what it is, basically, it's like an online fan fest. And, you know, so fans out there that are fans of Impact Wrestling or some of the wrestlers there, you might want to take part of this. It's a fan fest, and I have the announcement in front of me. It's going to be held on Zoom, and you'll be able to interact with a lot of Impact Wrestling stars, including Willie Mack, The North, Deonna Purrazzo, Ken Shamrock, and others. They'll have trivia contests. They're going to be giving out prizes. Now, it's not free, though, and I think it's only limited to maybe 100 people. It's $100 plus $10. Personally, I would have just made it $99. I know it sounds weird to a lot of people out there, but if I told you I was selling something for $9.99, or if I told you I was selling something for $10, even though it's only a penny difference, doesn't $10 sound like a lot more money than $9.99? Doesn't $99 sound less than $100 or $110? I know it sounds ridiculous, but in business, believe it or not, you put $9.99 for stuff like that instead of a 10 spot. For some reason, it just looks a lot cheaper, even though it's only a penny. But what they're doing is you're going to get an official Slammiversary t-shirt delivered pretty much wherever you are. You're going to get a $25 gift certificate from Impact's shop websites. They're going to send you autographed photos. They're going to send you a personal Cameo message from an Impact star. I don't know if you get to choose who the star is, but you get a Cameo with it as well. You get these vintage TNA trading cards. And the first 50 fans that register get 3-month subscription to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. You add all that up together, you know, that's not that bad of a deal. I mean, to hang out Saturday during the day and interact with some, you know, decent named wrestlers, get a free shirt, get free trading cards, get a couple of months subscription to a magazine, get a free Cameo video, get a free t-shirt, that's not that bad. It's not that bad. So you might want to go check that out. You know, the rumors are that Gallows and Anderson are going to debut at Slammiversary. EC3 posted another teaser video. July 18th is when his 90-day no-compete, I believe, is over. So he's teasing videos that he's going to fight on July 18th. Well, July 18th is Slammiversary. So there's a lot of rumors that EC3 is going to go back to Impact Wrestling. And honestly, I think it's necessary. EC3 definitely needs to go back to Impact Wrestling. Absolutely. Now, Brian Pillman Jr., you know, there's a little controversy because he wrestled on AEW Dark this week. I watched the match. Yeah, Mortalica says no one cares about TNA. That's the problem. That's the problem. Impact Wrestling is still a global company, and they have to get more eyes on their product. They have to get more people to purchase their events. They're getting creative with, ways to generate money. All promotions are doing that. They're all, coming up with ways to try to get your money. And this is the day before Extreme Rules. So if Impact Wrestling can get you to drop a 100 spot, or at minimum, or the Slammiversary before WWE's. Yes, WWE's on the network, and you only have to drop $9.99. But the point is, for a lot of these feds, they can't live on $9.99. They can't. They'll be dead in the water. Why do you think MLW, we talked about it last week, MLW is selling belts for $2,000? I mean, even if it looks beautiful, if MLW folds and it's out of business, you got this beautiful looking belt. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? You're going to go wrestle grandpa in the yard and you'll walk around wearing a belt? You're going to walk into a club with the MLW belt around your shoulders? If you're a belt collector, then that's a nice belt for your collection. But who's going to drop two G's? You have other companies, replica belts, $395, $400, $449, whatever. That's more reasonable. That's definitely, I got the AEW belt, and I am going to be giving away soon. By the way, within the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to debut the prize wheel. Remember the prize wheel? Remember this thing? Remember this? What we're going to do is, we're going to do the prize wheel, and we're going to put like a whole bunch of like AEW and NXT stuff on the prize wheel, really, really good stuff. But on two of the arrows, there's going to be a dud. There's going to be a dud prize, like just an absolute, like, I don't want that. So I haven't decided what the dud prizes will be, even though it was interesting the other day. I said that if I gave out your choice of either a Hulk Hogan signed photo right now or 3 big containers of Lysol wipes, because COVID, which would you take? And a lot of people, they weren't even just saying it to give a fuck you to Hulk Hogan. They want the Lysol wipes. You go on Amazon, everywhere else, they're sold out. You go on eBay, you got to pay like $80 for like 3 jars. I have about 30 jars inside. I've been lucky, picking them up on Amazon, and they sell out within 5 minutes. By the way, big shout out to Dan Hunsaker. Thank you for helping us escape from reality for a while. And why did I give away the 99-cent trick in business? Yeah, the 99-cent trick. Props to you who understand that. It's really, really, there's things about business that a lot of people, it's a play on words. It's all about perception. And that's why, when I even said, when Impact Wrestling was doing this stuff, and then they had the Global Farce, generation promotion come in with Jarrett, which was a joke. Remember that infamous photo that I did? They were in a baseball field, and the baseball field held like 7,000 fans. I think there was 119 fans in attendance for Impact Wrestling or TNA. And it was a 360 photo. Whoever took it, it was a beautiful photo. I took every head, including the concession people, and I put a number over their heads, and we counted 119 people. And the great thing about a baseball field is when some people are like, oh, what about the people sitting behind the photo? Behind the photo was center field. They don't have bleacher creatures, in those minor league ballparks, So it was like 119 people there. And I still got the photo. Maybe I'll post it next week because I'm going through my old hard drive and pulling some old retro stuff out there. But, you book a 7,000-seat building and you only draw 500. Everybody looks at that and they laugh at you like, oh, look at this. Look how it's 7,000-seat promotion. They only drew 500. Wow. They just close your promotion down now. Now, that same promotion, and that's what Impact Wrestling is doing well in Canada. You rent out a building that only seats 700, and you set it up to fill 500. You don't want to turn away fans, but you rent out a building that only seats 700, and you draw that same 500. People on, wow, loaded house. Wow, they got to get bigger venues and this and that. And we had to even turn away people, even if there was only 2 people outside. And you say, wow, we had, they had to turn away people. You don't have to give a number. You're like, yeah, we filled out the house. We had to turn away people, even though there might only have been 2 outside. It's all about perception. It's all about perception. And yeah, you remember the whole thing with Jeff Jarrett and the gold bars? Wow, what a, anybody that bought the gold bars, God bless them. God bless them, because the gold bars, Jarrett's, he was hustling, trying to make any. Toongoon, what happened to the balloon thing? I still got it right behind me. The only reason why I haven't done it yet is I want to put it right here. See, right here, right now, you can't see it, but I got hand sanitizer, But right here, I want to put the balloon thing. The only thing is I haven't run cables yet to, be able to plug it in over here, but I'm going to have it so when the balloons actually go off, it'll go off right here. So I could pull them in time, because the first night I tried to do it, it was a fiasco. It blew up. People upstairs must have been freaking out. Yeah, and you know what? That's the new wrestling boom. We blow up the balloons. That'll be the new wrestling balloon. Jay, my mama is not stanky. She's not stanky. She's not stanky. And potatoes gonna matarach. So, oh, man. So let's see. Do I think Mia Yim knows all the members of the Wu-Tang Clan? Who knows? Maybe. Maybe. I like Mia Yim. Even though she lost that street fight tonight to Candice LeRae, and I guess we could talk a little bit about AEW and NXT. And Jay, you keep paying for those insults. I'll keep showing it to everybody, because there's some people out there to be like, I'll sit there and take it. I don't mind, man. I don't mind, man. But you know what? Just because, he showed so much love, I got to give a shout out again to Dan Hunsaker. Thank you very much, my friend. I work hard to do these shows, and I'm not here right now to pander. I don't like pandering. Of course, I appreciate it if everybody could hit the like button. If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe. If you're enjoying the channel. But I work a full-time job also, so it's very hard to put in the hours doing insurance work all day long. Plus, when you have customers that have accidents and claims and, bullshit things happening, and you get just swamped with that. And then in the midst of it, you're trying to fit in, like preparing for these shows. Like I said, I wish, I could just turn the mic on, talk, turn the mic off, go to bed, and hey, I'm a podcaster. But when you have to prepare news and notes and edit and, cameras and lighting and even my air conditioner, thank God I had the air conditioner running tonight. Friday, we did a test with the Donzilla Army right here to see if you could hear the air conditioner. Nobody could hear it. I'm like, yes, because I always have this here, and for some reason, dust blows around in the air with this thing. So you might notice, because for some reason, the air conditioner air, there's no dust. But when I do the fan, I don't know what it is, but, there's dust around and it irritates. And I look like I'm doing cocaine. People are like, hey, you got to lay off that coke a little bit. So I want to thank you for the kind words, man. If you enjoy the shows, I'll keep dishing them out. And I'm not kidding. You guys are like caffeine for yours truly. There's some people out there that you will do a podcast for 20 people, and that's it. They can die tomorrow, and you just, they'll die happy. Me, I want to do it in front of 20,000 people. I don't think we'll ever have 20,000 live, but the point is that the more you out there enjoy it, the more you push me. And I always say, post your feedback, things you don't like, things you want me to focus on more, take away from. I think tonight we've been pretty fair with the balance with NXT and AEW. And yes, tonight's show is really more about those two shows than anything else because of everything that went on the last 2 weeks. And the title change and a few other things going on. But I still have to show some love for Impact Wrestling. Right now, the current Slammiversary card is for the Impact World Championship, Ace Austin versus Eddie Edwards versus Trey Miguel versus to be determined. A lot of people are wondering, could it be EC3? Don't know. For the Knockouts title, Jordan Grace versus Deonna Purrazzo. And you remember when Deonna Purrazzo was still in NXT? And before she got released, you might remember 1 or 2 episodes here where I said, why is WWE just having her squashed like a grape? Like there's something about, I didn't understand how NXT would use it. Oh, I got a new person now. I have a new person who is, to me, replaced how Deonna Purrazzo was used in NXT. And you know who that person is? Can you guess? Does anybody out there feel the same Deonna Purrazzo vibes with NXT? And look, I don't want her to be released. I don't want, her to be dropped. But thank you, Benjamin. Benjamin gets the deal. You see some people on TV, and yes, I go back and forth with all this stuff. That's what makes this show different than anyone else out there. Everybody sticks to a format. They get all their pretty little notes, and they read every little thing. No, we go wherever your conversation where you want it to go. All right? But Deonna Purrazzo, when she was in NXT, you would see her on TV, and you would be confused. Why is she being utilized like this? I don't know if anybody else had that vibe when Deonna Purrazzo was in NXT. So she's out of there, and she gets picked up by Impact Wrestling, and Impact Wrestling is treating her like a queen right now. And Deonna Purrazzo is not on the level of Tessa Blanchard, obviously, as far as how far she's going to go in the food chain for Impact Wrestling. But you feel like Impact Wrestling is giving the ball to Deonna Purrazzo and see how far she could run with it. You don't immediately focus the whole women's division around Deonna Purrazzo, but you could see Impact Wrestling is showing some respect for Deonna Purrazzo. Now I get the same feeling. The same feeling I had about Deonna Purrazzo in NXT, I have that same feeling now about Santana Garrett in NXT. I don't get why they're using Santana Garrett the way they are. She has wrestled so far 36 matches in NXT. I did my research. And so far, Santana Garrett in NXT is 12-24. And I know a lot of people out there, wins don't matter, ratings don't matter, this don't matter. It doesn't matter for people when they don't want to do research or they don't want to talk about it. I love the people that say ratings don't matter, and they'll tweet 10 times about AEW and NXT's ratings. Did you see what happened with Matt Riddle today? I'll save that for Friday. Did you see the people out there that tweeted 25 times about Matt Riddle admitting he had an affair? Oh, we'll have a field day on that Friday about that. People out there giving all this, this analysis and just, worry about your own skeletons. Seriously. But we'll talk about that Friday because Matt Riddle is not NXT anymore. So we don't talk about Raw or SmackDown here. So Friday we'll have some discussion on Matt Riddle. But Matt Riddle is a perfect example of what I was saying about the whole hashtag speaking out movement. Infidelity and being a player in a bar or, getting one-night stands and unfortunately using people is not abuse. You may be a creep. You may be, unfaithful, but that doesn't make you an abuser. If someone meets someone, and I don't want to get into the whole thing tonight, but when someone meets someone and they lie and they overhype themselves, or, in the case of Mike Johnson and Dave Scheer and others, you can imagine Wade Keller going to a club, hey, how you doing? Now, I don't know if Wade likes his M&Ms with peanut or plain, so we'll just say Wade meets someone by the name of Rue. Okay, Rue. Now, that could be RuPaul or that could be Vinny Rue. But Wade Keller meets somebody by the name of Rue in a club. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Can I buy you a drink? Sure. Oh, so what's your name? Wade. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? I'm a writer. Oh, really? What do you write for? The New York Times? I write for the... Could you imagine Mike Johnson, Dave Scheer, Wade Keller, and others? I don't put Meltzer in that category because Meltzer has done a newsletter for decades, made crazy coin, great analysis. I don't agree with his ratings, and yes, he's preferable to Japan and AEW. Meltzer is a writer. I still do not understand people. If you don't like Meltzer, why do you even think about him? Why even think about him? Seriously. But you see some of these people out there. You go to a club. Hey, what do you write for? I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, I write for this newsletter, and it's called the Torch. you know. But you get some people in the club. Yeah, I work in his office. You know, yeah, you know, tomorrow I got to go to Maui for a big business meeting. Oh my God, you know, this, that. And a person gets interested with you. And you might be lying through your teeth. You may say you have a crazy amount of money. You might, hey, can I buy you a drink? You take out a wad and there's a $100 bill showing, like, oh my God, this guy's got bucks. Meanwhile, the 100 might be rolled around a stack full of ones. And, you know, you sweet talk and you do stuff because you want to get laid. And maybe you get lucky and you do get laid. And then the person says, call me tomorrow. And then you don't call them. And then the person's like, oh my God, you know, and then the next week you go back there, oh my God, you know, you didn't call me. Oh, I lost your number. Oh, here it is again. And then, you know, you have a couple of drinks, you get in the mood, you repeat. Last week, it's the sequel. You know, you end up going in a hotel, you shack up or the back seat of the car if they're not worth the hotel, and you get, you know, your candle blown out again. And then the person's like, don't lose my number this time. No, baby, I won't lose it this time. And you don't call. And then the third week, and then now the person's like, you think that maybe he's using me? Well, guess what? That's not a fucking abuser. That is a creep. That is a loser. That person might have a wife. How many people? He's married. Ah! You know, that's why you don't take speaking out, and just because someone is unfaithful, you put them in that category. We'll get into it more Friday. Where is Velveteen Dream right now? Probably in his apartment. It's late. It's 11:15. He's probably in his apartment. You know, there's a lot of COVID going on. No, where is he? I'm a little concerned with what's up with NXT. I know that there was more accusations put out there, but they really, look, again, remember the first set of allegations with Velveteen Dream. If Velveteen Dream, if there was any legit creed with this, WWE would have released them in a second. WWE released people from NXT UK. We already talked about that. And by the way, how do you all like, you know, what went on with NXT UK the last month? I kept quiet, didn't say nothing for the last 2-3 weeks. What are a lot of people reporting? NXT UK, done, closed. I got from my sources, it's done. It's dead. That's it. It's over. You know, just speaking out, killed it, done. Then when some people are like, oh, you know, maybe my guess was a little bit off. Well, it's done, but it's not done. It's done, but it's not done. Well, WWE's done, but it's not done, but it is done. And sooner or later, you see what's going on. That's why you people just open mouth, insert foot. But you see how WWE immediately let go Jack Gallagher? Immediately let go. You know, if the people making these criminal accusations that say they have the text messages, yup, 5 minutes, that person could be canned. If someone, and look, I don't know what the truth is with the latest stuff with Velveteen Dream, but I'm making a point. If these people had legitimate text conversations, number one, you go to the cops. Cyber security, go to the cops right away. But if you don't want to go to the cops and instead maybe you want free tickets for, you know, one of the returning episodes of WWE, or a prize package, or a call from Vince or someone else, or Triple H, you know, and they don't just say Triple H. Those people who make those claims, they will say Triple H Levesque. I love when people like use people's real names to try to make it sound like a little more personal. Even Undertaker. You have Hall of Famers that say, oh, I just don't call him Taker, Undertaker. And you have regular wrestling fans calling him Mark. I don't get that. But getting back to Velveteen Dream, if these people had what they said they had, if they would have went to the cops, something would have went down already. There would have been at minimum, a police report. You block out the personal addresses or the names of the victims. You post something, and that's it. There's your proof. If you don't want to go to local authorities, all you got to do is send the information to WWE. And if they see it, the person's canned. Jack Gallagher, he was eliminated like this. And not only that, getting the Benoit treatment. Go do a search on WWE's online for Jack Gallagher and see what you get. When people could get information like this, and there's screenshots or there's actual recorded of the conversation, that's it. The proof is sent. 10 minutes later, the person is let go. When it goes for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, chances are there's nothing there. Now, unfortunately, if you have a lot of people out there that keep making the same accusations that don't know each other, then, you know, you might run into some problems. So, look, if Velveteen Dream did anything that is being accused of him, he definitely deserves to be released from WWE. But there are clout chasers. There are people out there that, you know, so they get rubbed the wrong way by someone. There are people out there that hate Velveteen Dream for a passion based on the original accusations that proved to be false. Just think about that for a minute. Cancel culture, once you're convinced that someone is guilty, even if they're not, you cancel them. You don't give room, you know, to reconsideration. So there are people out there that hate Velveteen Dream, and they don't even have any real basis for it. Well, he did this, this, and that. Had you seen that? Yeah, but those accusations proved. All right. Sorry. I closed a thing and I accidentally hit the... How long was it muted, everybody? How long was it muted? No, it was me. It was me. My bad. My bad. All right. It's fixed. I know it's fixed. Just let me know how long that went on. How long was it muted? That was my fault. About 5 minutes? No. A minute? 2 minutes. Yeah. All right. It's between 1 and 5 minutes. Oh, no. It couldn't have been that long. Yeah, it couldn't have been that long. Well, yeah, just about a minute. That was my fault. You didn't miss anything. All I said was, you know, Jay is depressed. You know, you got to turn that frown upside down. But somebody brought up Colt Cabana. I like Colt Cabana. They did that whole thing today where his whole midsection was bruised. I don't know if that was makeup. I think it was makeup, and I'll tell you the reason why I think it was makeup. Did you notice the trainer massaging his belly? Now, if I had enough time tonight and my belly wasn't so rotund, I probably would take out my fiance's makeup and recreate what happened with Colt Cabana's midsection today. Psycho Jet Black, my parents are from Sicily and Naples. Sicily, I'm Sicilian and Napolitan, by the way. And I think like 0.8% black and 1.5% Jewish. Somebody in my family, I'm serious, I did one of those ancestry DNAs. I got to put my results up. Maybe we'll do that Friday. You look at my results, it'll blow you away. I have, you know, very small, you know, very small percentages of different ethnic groups. So I won't take the shirt off, but you see Colt Cabana today. Did you see the trainer rubbing his tummy? Did you see that? He was rubbing the only area that wasn't bruised. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. Well, maybe he was rubbing the area that wasn't bruised so he wouldn't hurt him. Well, what the fuck are you rubbing him in the first place for? He's looking at Keith Lee. He's looking at Brody Lee, and he's rubbing his tummy. He's rubbing his tummy. And he's rubbing the only area that doesn't have the purple. I don't know if you noticed that. And after he finished, there's like a streak of skin color, and there's no... Everything else is purple. Early on in the match with Colt Cabana today, I think he forgot that he had makeup on his stomach because he was getting chopped and punched and chopped and punched and chopped and punched and chopped and punched, and he was just moving on along like nothing. Then towards the end of the match, where I guess it's supposed to tell the story that Colt Cabana's got all these injuries in it, all of a sudden he's holding everything like he's got some issues. He does have baloney tits, but so do I. You know, I don't mind baloney tits all that much, you know. But look, Colt Cabana is in much better shape than I am, so I can't criticize him. But the bruising thing, little things like that piss me off. You know, you're selling like you can't even move, and you're going in the ring and this and that, and you're moving around and you get chopped and you don't react at all. You got bruised like that, you know. If I was an ass, I'd just go like this, bing, and I'd be like, ah! Ow, 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 like the Pillsbury Doughboy. But there was another thing that pissed me off tonight, and you know me, I'm a stickler to detail. The Ice Cream Men, the Butcher and the Blade, they're in a tag match, teaming up with the Lucha Brothers, you know, against FTR, the Young Bucks. And they're teasing hard FTR and the Young Bucks. You know that's happening down the line. There was one point where the Butcher, to me, he's looking more and more like Evad. Anybody remember Dave Sullivan? Seriously, if he put on the yellow and started going, I want to be a Hulkamaniac, I think we would be like, holy shit, Dave Sullivan's back from retirement. Butcher enters the ring, and the Young Bucks are in the ring also. And again, I know a lot of you are going to be like, DT, yeah, you're a little bit too much of a stickler to detail. If I notice it, other people have to notice it. There was one point where Evad was going to try to clothesline the Young Bucks. I don't know if you saw it, but when Evad entered the ring, before he runs after the Young Bucks to clothesline them, did you see what he did? Now, I can't stand up because I have boxer shorts on right now, and I don't think anybody wants to see my legs. But when he was in the corner and he went into the ring and started running after the Young Bucks, he does this and then runs, like as a cadence. He clapped, because a lot of wrestlers do that. They'll clap right before they try to do a move. Again, in the center of the fucking ring with the hard camera. I don't care if he's wrestling for 20 years. And then he goes this. Go back and watch that. Go back and watch that. Soon as Evad, the Ice Cream Man, entered the ring, Mr. Softy. Actually, I'm going to call him Mr. Softy from now on. Yeah, he's a built motherfucker, and he's a monster, but he's Mr. Softy. So he's right. This fucking S&M... You know, S&M by night, Ice Cream Man by day. He hits the ring and he wants to clothesline the Young Bucks, but before that, he claps before he does it. Go see what I'm talking about. Anyway, getting back to Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo, NXT, not utilized all that well. She goes to Impact Wrestling. Now they're treating her right. To me, Santana Garrett, same position. I don't know why. Somebody's got to lose, obviously. But Santana Garrett right now, when she loses bad. This is not the first time she's had 1-minute squashes and gets no offense whatsoever. And the thing that might surprise a lot of people about Santana Garrett, and I'm not putting her in the same category as a Mercedes Martinez or a Deonna Purrazzo or a Tessa Blanchard or anybody like that, but Santana Garrett has been wrestling for over 10 years. She's wrestled for over 30 promotions. I don't know what it is, but I get the same vibe about her that I did about when Deonna Purrazzo was in NXT. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I'll tell you something else, just a random statistic you might find interesting. When Santana Garrett was in TNA, not Impact Wrestling, but TNA, you know what her record it was? She had 13 matches in TNA. Anybody out there have any wild guess what Santana Garrett's record in TNA Wrestling was of those 13 matches? 1-12. So NXT is actually treating Santana Garrett a hell of a lot better than she did in TNA. And Impact Wrestling, she didn't have many matches, but believe that I don't get it. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about both shows tonight. I just want to give you finally the Slammiversary card for Impact next Saturday. It's not a bad card, especially if Gallows and Anderson make their debut, and if EC3 shows up. There was rumors about Mike and Maria Kanellis. And by the way, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Mike Kanellis, but have you noticed how jacked this guy has got? I mean, jacked. It just, go look. I should have posted a picture here tonight. Honestly, I didn't think it was that newsworthy, but you want to be a little bit surprised. Look at Mike Kanellis, right? I'm talking arms like pythons. Jacked. So anyway, Impact Wrestling for the World Championship. Ace Austin versus Eddie Edwards versus Trey Miguel versus, somebody, maybe a former WWE wrestler. Maybe a former returning Impact wrestler. For the Knockouts title, Jordan Grace versus Deonna Purrazzo. For the TNA World Championship, Moose versus Tommy Dreamer. For the tag titles, The North versus Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock. For the X Division title, Willie Mack versus Chris Bay. And Johnny Swinger is banned from ringside. And then you have a #1 contender for the future Knockouts title match. It's a gauntlet match. You have Nevaeh, spelled backwards as heaven, by the way. Rosemary, Sue Young, Kiera Hogan, Taya Valkyrie, Tasha Steelz, Alicia Edwards, Kylie Ray, Kimberly, Madison Rain, and Havoc. Impressive women's division. I see some names there that were in NWA. I'm a little concerned right now with NWA. They still got, great talent, no question. But I'm a little bit concerned because very quietly you have some wrestlers who are just leaving and, we're still in the middle of COVID, but Tasha Steelz is gone. You had Ricky Starks. Now Zicky Dice is gone. Very quietly. No buzz whatsoever. Remember all of these websites that were all like making fusses like, wow, Zicky Dice, man, that guy's going to be a megastar, and a kind of retro of DDP back in the day and all these other people. And he gets released from NWA. Have you seen anybody talking about this? I think it's a big deal. So Zicky Dice is gone. Now, getting back to the controversy with Brian Pillman Jr., he wrestled for AEW Dark this week, lost to Sean Spears. The match was so disappointing. Brian Pillman Jr., didn't he win like Rookie of the Year and stuff like that? Like, Brian Pillman Jr. has a huge future on his hands. Now, I'm not going to make that big of a deal about it because future stars back in the day, especially back in the day, would wrestle a dark match for WWE. You would have stars of Ring of Honor wrestle a dark match in WWE and get squashed. They would show up as a security guard, as a lawyer, as a cop. So, you know, AEW is not doing anything different than anyone else. But, man, especially that this guy has some good cred to him, and he's the son of a Hall of Famer, you know, in my opinion. And he loses to Shawn Spears. Now, yeah, they used the loaded glove and everything to, you know, so Pillman doesn't lose any stock on it. But wow, such an uneventful appearance. Now, a lot of people immediately were wondering what's going to happen to his career in MLW. Well, his contract with MLW allows him to work for other promotions. You might remember that MJF was also wrestling up until very recent with MLW before COVID struck. And, you know, he's not part of the company anymore, but we have had wrestlers appear in MLW that also wrestled for AEW. So this is really nothing different. MLW, whenever they're having a show, he has to give first dibs to MLW. So if MLW and AEW are having an event the same night, he has to take the MLW booking. But that would be a nice grab if AEW can do a little bit with Brian Pillman Jr. So unfortunately, though, we didn't have too much. So anyway, the other dark match is Big Swole over Chanel. Go check out other people, how they pronounce her name. Frankie Kazarian over Luther. You had the Lucha Brothers and the Ice Cream Men over Brady Pierce, Fabu Andre, Joe Alonzo, and Tony Donati. Some familiar names from our neck of the woods. Orange Cassidy over Will Hobbs, Michael Nakazawa over Sean Dean, Scorpio Sky over Serpentico, and the Dark Order over Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. No big fucking deal, to be honest with you. So, let's get back to NXT and AEW tonight. NXT opened up with a street fight. Mia Yim defeating Candice LeRae. You know, Mia Yim trying to get her fellow employees energized around ringside. She gets them to start a "We Want Tables" chant. It was a great brawl, a great street fight. If you remember the quarter-hour ratings breakdown that I did last Friday, the women's match, the four-way from last week's Impact, I got Impact on the brain still, from NXT, really drew a solid number. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of number Mia Yim and Candice LeRae get this week. Like I said, NXT opened really fucking solid. They closed really fucking special. In the middle, though, for me, a lot of parts left less to be desired, to be honest with you. But they brawled all over the building. They did a beautiful spot with the table. Candice LeRae with the Nestea plunge through a table. The finish, man, they did it well. They took a table and they draped it over the top rope in the corner. They were both brawling on the table, and they had chairs in the middle of the ring. And Candice LeRae hits the swinging neck breaker by LeRae onto Mia Yim off the top rope, off the table, onto a whole bunch of chairs. It was a very solid opener for NXT. And interesting enough, you know, the opener for AEW was Private Party losing to Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. That match, to me, went shorter than I thought it would. That match was excellent. Again, you might remember what I said last week, that I want to see one Private Party match where people don't have to write in their reviews. And I'll get to the ice cream story that you sent when we get to that match. I'll post that. But I don't want to see in the reviews, you know, Private Party, you know, they're really up and coming, you know, a couple of missed spots and hiccups and this and that. Tonight was a much smoother match for Private Party than matches in the past. I really can't complain about anything that they did in the match today. If you really want me to be a little, stickler with this, or be complain about something, the only thing I didn't like was Mark Quinn was getting his ass kicked by Omega and Page at the beginning of the match. I mean, getting beat the fuck down. And then there was a part where Kenny Omega went for, I guess, like a famouser onto Mark Quinn, and Mark Quinn basically didn't go off his feet and, countered. And it looked great in the ring. But then they put a close-up on Mark Quinn, and he's smiling, and he's like, yeah, I reversed it. Yeah, see, I got one up on you. Not selling any of the beatdown that he had. You get the fuck beat out of you, and you reverse a move, you still just got the fuck beat out of you. And he had this look on his face. Now, if they would have just been chain wrestling and did that, fine. But, that was a little bit. But there was one point, somebody's got to do some homework for me. And, maybe we could bring it up Friday, or maybe I'll save it for next week. Somebody needs to figure out one person that was at ringside. I'm curious who this person was. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I did. There was one point where Hangman Page powerbombs Mark Quinn into the crowd, picks him up, throws him into the crowd. Then you had Isaiah Cassidy, he does like some move, I forget what it's called, but he knocks Hangman Page, who's outside the ring, and he knocks him, kicks him into the crowd. All right. So now we got a bunch of people in the crowd with the crowd. No, it wasn't a cannonball. No. It was like a kick. Like he ran across the ring and did a kick, to Hangman Page, and Hangman Page then went over into the crowd. All right. So now you have Isaiah Cassidy. He does like a cannonball into the crowd. That was beautiful, because you already had Mark Quinn in the crowd. You already had Hangman Page in the crowd. And I want people to go back and watch that spot. It's AEW must have noticed it, because every tweet that AEW posted of this spot where Isaiah Cassidy hit the cannonball into the crowd, it stopped right at the moment that I noticed. There was some guy sitting at ringside. Maybe someone wants to go on Twitter and look at this spot, and maybe you could figure out who it is. We could give this person his due. I don't know if he wants that, but there was one guy sitting at ringside. He's a wrestler, obviously. Dark hair, almost like old Rusev hair with a ponytail. He had like a gray shirt on. And when Hangman Page got knocked into the crowd, he moved to the right and was, sitting with somebody. Then when Mark Quinn, when Isaiah Cassidy did the cannonball into the crowd, the camera is right on this guy. And he's right next to the wrestlers. And he's just standing there like this. And then he must have been like, oh, fuck, the camera's on me. And then he goes like this, like selling, like he just became brain dead. Go back and watch it. Right after the cannonball, he no-sells it. He's just standing there looking around. And then I guess he realizes that the camera's on him, and then he starts going like this with his arms. Somebody out there's got to, because again, AEW must have picked up on that, because every spot, they did like 4 or 5 tweets with those spots. And every time they showed the cannonball, they cut it right before the camera's on this guy, and he's just standing there like a deer in headlights. He's sitting there like a deer in headlights. And then, for no reason at all, he just starts going like this. Oh, it was, whoever that was, don't ever bring him back. And the funny thing is, for a split second, I thought it was one of the Young Bucks. And I was like, oh, I got to be really fucking careful here. Was it Q? No, there's no way it was QT Marshall. I know QT Marshall had a hair weave. He didn't get that much hair. You know, it wasn't QT Marshall. In a perfect world, it would be QT Marshall. But it was a fun match. But in the end, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page hit the last call on Orange Cassidy. Hangman Page pins Cassidy, and they retain the titles. Like I said, once I saw this opening match, I realized that all the spoilers we got last week for every match was true. These spoilers were right on point. But I will say this. Whoever posted those spoilers last week are not a fan of Joey Janela, because they made it sound like Joey Janela got a little offense in on Lance Archer, but Lance Archer, you know, squashed him like a grape pretty much. Lance Archer and Joey Janela had a pretty damn good match. They really did. Now, the funny thing is, Jake the Snake Roberts in the corner, I know he had arm surgery, but I don't know what's up with his legs and his hip. He did all that yoga, and he, you know, I love Jake, so please, I don't mean this to be an asshole, but he did all that yoga and stuff, and he, like, moves around even, like, worse now than before. I mean, but when he had the bag at ringside, did anybody really think a snake was in there? To me, it looked like it was his dirty laundry in a laundry bag. You know, don't tease the snake if you're not going to take the snake out of the bag, not even for a second. He had a bag in the corner of the ringside area, and I hope somebody is looking up that photo, that spot with the cannonball. I really want to know who the guy is. So you'll notice it right away, because as soon as the cannonball hit, he's standing there and he's like, and then all of a sudden, just like, it hit him like, oh, fuck. Somebody's got to know who that is. But Jake, God bless him, but he's got the bag in the corner, and it just looked like a bag of dirty laundry, to be honest with you. But they had a great fucking match. I was a little confused, because Lance Archer does the blackout outside the ring through a table. Why was he not disqualified at that particular moment? This wasn't a no DQ match. So, again, maybe me being a little bit, you know, stickler to detail, but, you know, rules are rules. There's a reason why you can't do certain things that you would want to do in a regular match. But he puts Janela through the table, no disqualification, gets the win, but this might have been Lance Archer's best match yet in AEW. And I know a lot of people remember the match with Cody, but if it wasn't Lance Archer's best match, it's arguably maybe Joey Janela's best one so far in AEW. So I enjoyed the match. I'll be honest with you. Other than Cassidy Jericho, I might have enjoyed Joey Janela and Lance Archer more than anything else, because I expected it to be a quick squash based on those spoilers. And it ended up being a much more... That's why now when Joey Janela was talking about alternate endings, you know, to mock it a little bit on Twitter, I think he probably was a little insulted when they said that he got a little bit of offense in. I was like, no, that fucking match was a little bit more competitive than they tried to portray it out to be. Yeah, ref, man, yeah, of course, the refs are much more lax, but rules are rules. And, you know, you shouldn't be able to do some of the things, you know, quote unquote. So we then have a video of Darby Allin, and, you know, he hasn't forgotten of what Brian Cage did to put him out, you know, and then Darby Allin does a coffin drop into a platform, you know, in the pit. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know what the deal is with Darby Allin, why, you know, they're not using him a little bit more. Maybe he is legit injured, you know, to a certain extent. I don't think so, because he would not be doing all these crazy flips with skateboards up and down ramps and onto ladders and all that. You know, I'm talking about the weekly segments we keep seeing. Yeah, hey, ho, ho, sometime the rules got to go. But next we have Taz, brings out the FTW title. And I am going back and forth with AEW and NXT, because remember, the Omega Page match ended a lot sooner than Mia Yim and Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae and Mia Yim went a lot longer than the opening match. So some of this was actually still within those first 2 quarters. But Taz brings out a black bag. He says he's got something in there that he created years ago with his blood, his sweat, and his tears. I think a lot of people who were longtime wrestling fans thought it was the FTW title, but weren't sure. But sure enough, he brings out the FTW title. I already explained earlier my thoughts, and I have no problem with it whatsoever. And he is right. No promotion ever recognized the FTW title. And it is true. When he created that belt originally, he didn't have the ECW logos on it. I don't recall ever the ECW logos on it. And the funny thing is, I should have put it in a backdrop over here, but the camera would have cut it off. I have an FTW t-shirt from the late 90s. It was the Taz 632 shirt. Does anybody remember what the 632 stood for? And you can't Google it. You can't Google it. Anybody remember what Taz 632 stood for? Props if you could figure it out. Anybody remember what Taz 632 stood for? Anybody? Austin 316 says, I just whip your ass. So Taz 632 was supposed to be twice as pissed off, because 632 is double of 316. I know it sounds kind of goofy in 2020, but back in the late 90s, you know, everybody was very impressed with Taz, you know, doing the whole shoot fighter gimmick and everything. Yeah, franchise, I give you credit. Franchise got it. But he crowns Brian Cage the FTW champion, and whoever holds that title is the baddest son of a bitch in pro wrestling. The thing is that I don't know if that's a title you want defended, but look, they're still planting the seeds of Darby Allin going after Brian Cage. So Cody's got the stranglehold, you know, on the TNT championship. You got Moxley with the stranglehold on the world title. So you have the FTW title change around, and I don't even know how they would do that since it's Taz's belt. You know, it'll be unsanctioned matches, obviously. You'll have Tony Khan say, we don't recognize the FTW title, so it is a non-sanctioned match. So what? I have no problem with it whatsoever. And for anybody out there that thinks, the belt looks ugly, it's orange. It's orange and black. The fuck do you think Taz's colors were in the 90s, you kumquat? So now we got... well, let's go back to NXT, because, you know, now we're going back and forth with both shows. NXT, you had Bronson Reed beat Tony Nese. Tony Nese, man, massive losing streak. I don't know if anybody is, you know, like gets a little win here and there, but for the most part, loss. And Bronson Reed getting revenge because last week Tony Nese was bullying around Leon Ruff. I didn't give a shit. Honestly, was not interested in this match whatsoever. Robert Stone teasing that he's going to have a new member of the Robert Stone brand. He tries to recruit Shotzi Blackheart. She doesn't want to join, and, you know, throws him into a cart, and his coffee involved. And, you know, it was supposed to be a funny segment. I just thought it was a little bit goofy. Again, no disrespect to the NXT stars, but the meat of the show, the beginning and end, no complaints. The meat, less to be desired, to be honest with you. We had Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Johnny Gargano, which was an excellent match. I'm just not into Isaiah Swerve Scott just yet. He has done great for other promotions, and he's had flashes in NXT, but I don't think anybody in their right mind ever thought that there was a chance Johnny Gargano was going to lose tonight unless there was some interference or something. Right now, we don't know. By the way, what's going on with Tommaso Ciampa? What's going on with him right now? A little curious. I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said on Monday, where's Nia Jax? Well, where's Tommaso Ciampa? So, Johnny Gargano gets the win. Not a bad match. Fun match. You know, the NXT crowd, quote unquote, were really into it. I'm curious to see how much the rating goes down during that match, because although Gargano and Scott had a great match, did not keep my interest, to be honest with you. Next, a great video package hyping up Tegan Nox challenging Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship next week. That match is going to go down next week. They also announced Cameron Grimes versus Damian Priest. Again, Cameron Grimes, man, you know, I've said already my thoughts on him. I'm just not feeling it with him at all. So going back to AEW, we had Nyla Rose in, well, actually, you know, before we had Nyla Rose, we got to talk about the Ice Cream Man. They teamed up with the Lucha Brothers. Nice to see Pentagon Jr. back. He wrestled for AEW Dark as well to get a little bit of the ring rust. He was working out overseas in Mexico, but he was getting some ring rust out as well. Somebody who wrote this earlier about the Butcher. A. Espinosa, the Butcher is Andy Williams' guitar player. He started wrestling at 39. You know what? Good for him if he started wrestling at 39, but wrestling is wrestling. When the bell starts to the bell ends, that's all I care about. I don't want to follow people and get into people simply because they had an interesting backdrop or because they follow me on Twitter or they like the shows. Entertain me, bitch. I don't mean to be such an asshole, but if I don't entertain you and you don't enjoy these shows, I don't expect you to tune in. You're going, well, look at where DT came from. He had a bad car accident. He does all this good stuff, and he works his hard, and he puts in that. No, if I don't entertain you at all and you don't like what I do, you're not going to tune in. You're not forced to. Same thing with wrestling. When the bell starts to the bell ends, if you don't entertain me, I'm going to find myself going to eat something, take a leak, prepare for the show, get some work ready for tomorrow. That's what matters. Well, he was a guitar player. The fuck does that mean? Well, he listens to your show. What the fuck does that mean? If you don't entertain me, I ain't watching it. I'm going to lie? I keep it real. And, you know, I think a lot of people prefer it that way. And by the way, you know, let's clear this up because I probably should have said this right from the get-go. The little controversy about this, all right, that is one of those stick-on tattoos that AEW is wrestling. Somebody sent me a batch of them. So I actually put one on earlier today on the forehead. You know, on the instructions, it says that you remove it with baby oil or alcohol. So I don't have either. Only thing I have that has alcohol other than hard liquor is Lysol wipes. So I took a Lysol wipe and I rubbed my head with it. This was like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I looked in the mirror and I had a whole bunch of pimples on my forehead because Lysol wipes are not intended to put on your face. So that's why I'm not wearing the Cody tattoo tonight. But I'll be honest with you, what my plan was tonight is to put the Cody tattoo here and the Cody tattoo here and the Cody tattoo here. I was going to wear a polo shirt and put the Cody tattoo here. I was going to put it all over my body. But unfortunately, you know, didn't turn out that way. But maybe we'll do that in the future. But that reaction that I did, that was an honest reaction. I looked at it and I was like, fuck. I don't even, you know, look, if it was sentimental and my dad had some meaning behind it, you know, then maybe I would get it for the neck or something like that. You know, so I will not knock Cody's tattoo, you know, and some people have gotten that tattoo also. No problems, but it's just not for me. But, yeah, somebody sent me a whole bunch of... I actually bought this shirt, though. But somebody sent me a bunch of tattoos. Because then the person knew I would be goofy enough to put them on the air. But I wanted to put them everywhere. I wanted to look like... What is that gang? MS-16 or MS-30? What's that gang where they have tattoos all over their faces? You know, I wanted to be like that, the MS-13 version of, you know, of wrestling. I was going to have the Cody tattoo everywhere. I was going to be showered with Cody tattoos. But I just didn't want to use all those Lysol wipes to take them off later on. So, yeah. MS-13. Yes, MS-13. I don't follow gangs all that much. But, you know, look, the Ice Cream Men teaming up with Pentagon and Rey Fenix. Look, the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, they're gold. FTR, nice little different dynamic. They don't do the flips. They just, you know, ground attack. This is all designed to ultimately set up a match between the Young Bucks and FTR. Next week, we have the Lucha Brothers taking on FTR. I don't know why the Young Bucks will have to interfere towards the end of that match or come out for some reason, but they will. You pretty much could see that a mile away. This match was excellent. It was a lot of fun. A lot of the usual high spot, clusterfuck, high spot, clusterfuck, high spot, high spot. But it was very smooth. And again, you know, the Ice Cream Men, you know, they're pretty much ground game as well, as in FTR. So you had a nice mix, a nice balance. You had the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers doing their thing, but you also had the ground attack as well. And when I say ground attack, I don't mean like their feet are crazy glued to the floor. Those other guys move around. I mean, I criticize the Ice Cream Men more about them dressing like good human men when they're not wrestling. You know, if you're going to give this persona of being wearing S&M type outfits, you know, and then you're wearing fucking white Ice Cream Men outfits and then you see it, and it wasn't just a week later, because the week later, it was all recorded the same week, but it was multiple weeks. So it was multiple tapings, and they're still, you know, dressing the same way. But, you know, I agree. Everyone, you know, they worked hard, and the match was excellent. I wouldn't, for me, I wouldn't put it match of the year. I think a lot of people, you know, forget some of the matches that happened in January and February and even part of March, because we didn't start this COVID era as far as no crowds until, you know, the second or third week in March. So, you know, people are forgetting a lot of matches that went on early this year. By the way, here in New York, it's 11:57. We got 8 minutes left. So, you know, we'll stick with these two shows. As far as other news, do I have anything else? No, I mean, just the ratings prediction after that. But, you know, so in the end, you had Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. Them, along with the Butcher and the Blade, they ended up getting the win. What happened was Matt Jackson accidentally hit Dash Hardwood with a kick. So Pentagon and Rey Fenix hit Matt with the fire driver, got the pin, teased a little bit of friction between FTR and the Young Bucks, which, again, this was all designed to ultimately set up a match between the two. I don't remember the exact date of AEW's next pay-per-view. Does anybody remember when the next pay-per-view is? And I'm not talking about the regular Wednesday special shows, but the pay-per-view. If anybody in the chat could look that up really quick, I would appreciate it. So Swall, which this was just kind of like dopey in my opinion. You know, recently we had the Cam. And here's where Tony Khan kind of like screws up a little bit, in my opinion. You know, we had like 2 weeks ago with Big Swall, you know, where to, doctor? Remember that? And everybody's like, oh, where to, Stephanie? It's like a ripoff. And she throws Britt Baker in a dumpster. If people remember, Tony Khan tweeted about that segment and laughed at it. Tonight, Tony Khan, I almost said Kwan, Yoshi Kwan, Tony Khan writes another tweet today. And we saw it go down on Dynamite, but he tweets today. And he says, and I quote, and I know this is storyline, but I'm making a point. He writes today, quote, that we just informed Big Swall via formal letter that she has been suspended from AEW for kidnapping Dr. Britt Baker. Wrestlers cannot kidnap each other. We asked Swall to go home and cool off. Swall's an important member of our team, and we'll see her back soon. Well, 2 weeks ago, motherfucker, you were laughing and tweeting about it and this and that. So you can't wait 2 weeks and then somebody comes up with a good idea 2 weeks later. Well, you know, we should suspend her in storyline because somebody shouldn't kidnap someone. No, you do it the same fucking night, or you write something that night. You don't have your jollies and storyline and mark out to it and laugh at it and have everybody have a good chuckle, because it was a funny segment 2 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks later, nobody should kidnap anybody. I thought that was a little bit too much. And then Big Swall shows up later and throws the contract in Swall's eye. Swall throws it in Britt Baker's eyes, and Britt Baker's acting like she got her nose broken. Almost felt like a little bit of Brady Bunch vibes, you know, my nose, my nose. Anybody remember that? Marsha, my nose. I hated the Brady Bunch, by the way. Hated it. I was too young to have any type of physical enjoyment, I guess you would call it. You know, and they could reveal a little bit too much there. Getting back to NXT, you had El Legado del Fantasma, which is Santos Escobar, the current NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. By the way, I like that Mendoza and Wilde have, you know, matching outfits. They defeat Drake Maverick and Breezango. Breezango going back to the NXT music that I like, thank God. You know, you're not going to fuck with El Legado del Fantasma's momentum right now. Drake Maverick, I know some people may feel like, wow, you know, all that emotional stuff and he keeps getting squashed right now. It's fine. You're not always going to be on the winning side of a lot of storylines. So I didn't like the Partridge Family either. I didn't like them. Come on, get happy. I seriously, if I knew where they lived, I would have slashed the fucking tires, even though I was just riding big wheels at the time. I would have rolled my big wheel into wherever they lived, and I would slash that bus's tires. Seriously, come on, get happy. I hated that show. Oh, man, growing up, man, that show sucked. So, anyway, in the end, we had Santos Escobar give Drake Maverick the Phantom Driver, and after the match is over, they pretty much just hand Drake Maverick his ass. I think Drake Maverick's going to be on the bump tomorrow, by the way, if anybody wants to check that out. Interview with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. They make the interview, I don't remember her name, repeat like 3 or 4 times that Candice LeRae beat Mia Yim earlier. Was the bump today? Okay, so it happened today. All right, so if you want to watch the repeat, you can watch the repeat tomorrow. So I thought the bump was on. Yeah, you're right. Bump is on Wednesdays. So you would have thought that they would have interviewed Drake Maverick after. And I wonder why they do it like that. So, but then again, not every episode of the bump has NXT stars on it. Mercedes Martinez, she beats Santana Garrett in about a minute. I mean, just absolutely dominated. I love the new intro for Mercedes Martinez. As I'm watching that, I'm saying to myself, no disrespect against her. I think she would be a tremendous asset for NXT, but I watch that and I say to myself, you don't need Tessa Blanchard right now. Push Mercedes Martinez for a little while. You know, Mercedes Martinez could be almost like Tessa Blanchard meets Shayna Baszler. Like that dominating, badass motherfucker. You know, I liked what they did today. Kind of, you know, disappointed at, you know, the continued use of Santana Garrett. But she wins. She wins. And that was domination. Pure domination. So now we have the main event. Keith Lee and Adam Cole. Title versus title. Excellent match. I think for some people out there, we'll get back to AEW in a minute, but I think it might have been a slower match that some people, you know, felt it was slow. It told a beautiful story. Having Keith Lee kick out of so many of Adam Cole's moves, it told a great story. You know, you didn't want an asterisk after the win. You didn't want interference. You didn't want crazy shit to go down. I thought it was a fun match. I think the match kept everybody's interest. I think a lot of people also thought that Karrion Kross was going to get involved in some capacity. Maybe not necessarily, you know, before Keith Lee won, you know, the heavyweight title tonight. because of the spoiler from last week, but it put a lot of doubt in people's minds that maybe there was alternate endings recorded. Now, unfortunately, you realize they don't record alternate endings. They haven't recorded alternate endings. So in the future, they're not going to record alternate endings. But even though I knew Keith Lee was winning this might be the 1/499 moment all over again. Not to the same extent, because Dynamite, was not live either. It was pre-recorded last week. And Dynamite didn't give the spoilers for NXT. But Keith Lee is the right person to put the title on right now. I know the Adam Cole rumors are going to fly again. His contract is going to end soon. Is he going to go to AEW? Are they going to bring him to the main roster? What are they going to do with Adam Cole? He had a record title run. I think some people felt almost like Nikki Bella. I don't want to put him in the same category. Some people will get angry with me for saying that. I don't think they want to, it felt in a sense that once he made history, now we can take the title off of him. You see that happen multiple times. Like it wasn't too long after New Day surpassed Demolition streak that they lost the titles. Nikki Bella, as soon as she became then she lost the title. And it seems like once you make some history, then more times than not, that's soon after you drop the title. Keith Lee would definitely be an awesome major player on the main roster. But there's no rush. There is no rush. Right now, even though Keith Lee is a major player, there are other people on the food chain, on the main roster, that he would have to overcome. And Keith Lee right now, do you see him, leapfrogging a lot of the people who are getting, the focus and attention? No. That's not going to happen. Keith Lee, right now, there is no rush. No rush whatsoever. You got to remember this, too. This is something people really need to focus on. We don't have live crowds right now. Right now, it is ratings, merchandise sales, pay-per-view buys, and advertising revenue. That's what it is. So it's not like Keith Lee, they got to put on the main roster so they could sell out 10,000 seats in an arena. So if Keith Lee is ready for the main roster, whether Keith Lee is performing for NXT on a Wednesday night or SmackDown on a Friday night, all right, sure. We're talking Fox compared to the USA Network, but my point is that it's not affecting attendance right now. There is no attendance. So I personally think, and here's another thing too, Keith Lee feeds off of the fans as well. And you don't want fans to get so used to Keith Lee on the main roster that by the time fans return, his character is gone here and he's feuded with this person, right? He's done this and done that. Remember, we're already in July. Survivor Series is not that far away. So we'll be right back to Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. And Keith Lee being one of the major main event guys on NXT, nothing wrong with that. Leave it alone right now. They brought Matt Riddle to Friday nights. They needed, a big-time babyface star right now. I know some people weren't thrilled at last week, with the whole shoe stories and this and that. But, that's good enough. That's good enough for now. So they go off the air. Keith Lee is your champion. And Karrion Kross seen in the rafters watching it. So we'll see what goes down next week if Karrion Kross shows up. The big question is, how does he defend both belts? Why would Karrion Kross choose one belt? Common sense in storyline, anybody would want the World Heavyweight Championship. So, what do you do about the North American title? You're not going to have anybody come out and say, I want the North American title. you want to go for the gusto. You're still facing the same person no matter what. So Keith Lee's going to have to feud with two people. How you determine who fights for what belt, that's WWE creative. So, Mini Mutant Man, I know we're going total different spectrum right now. I have tried CBD oil in the past. Not bad. I actually tried it for about a month, and I actually used some that had nicotine in it, and I stopped right away. I'm a former smoker, and I didn't want to incorporate any nicotine back, but CBD's all right. I used to enjoy the gummies. The gummies actually were pretty damn good, and a lot of my drugstores sell CBD now. So that was NXT. AEW, what's left from that show, you had Nyla Rose squashing Kenzie Page and Kylan King. For those that may not remember, Kenzie Page fought Nyla Rose on the June 5th edition of Dynamite, so she was on Dynamite in the past. Kylan King wrestled several times on AEW Dark already, but tonight, total squash. After the match is over, you had Nyla Rose cutting a promo on Hikaru Shida for the most part. Hikaru Shida was sitting at ringside. Nyla Rose talking about how Brian Cage just comes into the company, he already has a belt. Nyla Rose will once again be the women's champion. As I said earlier, Colt Cabana in the training room, that match was okay. Unfortunately, Brody Lee, the whole Dark Order thing, in my opinion, has been very disappointing. Fans or no fans, it's been very disappointing. Out of all the people you try to recruit, you come up with a storyline with Colt Cabana. Again, this just feels like people working in the back getting rewarded for the hard work. QT Marshall getting the diamond cutter, getting Ali, and getting all this exposure. And honestly, do fans out there really flock to see QT Marshall? Again, nothing against Colt Cabana, but you just watch some of these storylines, and out of everybody who you could tease trying to recruit the Dark Order, Colt Cabana is a great wrestler and everything, but it just feels, once again, people rewarded for working in the office as well. I honestly could give a flying fuck if Colt Cabana wants to be in the Dark Order, doesn't want to be in the Dark Order, thinks about being in the Dark Order. If the Dark Order ultimately turns on him, he turns on them. I don't really care. I'm just saying this as a wrestling fan. It feels like when they were teasing Vincent to join the New World Order, or teasing Horace Hogan joining the New World Order. Did anybody honestly give a flying fuck that Horace Hogan was going to join the New World Order? That's what it feels like with this QT Marshall storyline and Colt Cabana. These are two storylines that honestly I don't think. Wait till the quarter hour. I was right last week. Remember when I said that Best Friends was not going to generate any type of a great rating closing out Dynamite last week? I think the quarter hour rating might have been the lowest quarter hour of the entire show. Yes, it went up against Sasha and Io Shirai, but that proves once again, they're trying to build stars, but the idea of having some people close your shows out it's not good. That's not good. That is kind of careless. You want to build. Give Jericho props today. Jericho and Orange Cassidy had a great fucking match. And the story of this match was Orange Cassidy coming this close numerous times of getting the pin on Jericho. Jericho, worked his ass off, told a great story. Orange Cassidy just a little bit short, but in the end, Jericho hits the Judas effect almost by accident, knocks out Orange Cassidy, gets the win. I saw so many people over the last week saying, Orange Cassidy, he must win. I honestly thought Mike Tyson was going to make an appearance. Jericho repeatedly challenging Tyson. If you show up, I'm going to kick your ass. I would have thought Tyson shows up, knocks his ass out once again. Orange Cassidy gets the win. Aubrey Edwards is not looking. And, you know, you get a little bit of press by the, you know, the mainstream sports and mainstream news. And in the midst of all of this, they see Orange Cassidy get a win. Who is this guy? But I honestly thought, you know, that would have probably been a cool way to go. And the funny thing about that is Mike Tyson had to have done almost nothing. They must be trying to negotiate a pay-per-view match with Mike Tyson. They must be trying to tease or get something, Mike Tyson versus Chris Jericho on pay-per-view. And that's the reason why they didn't, because honestly, they could have brought him in, hit one punch on Jericho. It's pre-recorded. So if it falls flat or if it just looks horrible, you just retake it. Everybody in the arena, you know, there's ways they could have gone around it. But we did not get that. In the end, Jericho reigned supreme. Orange Cassidy won tonight, even though he lost, because Orange Cassidy showed that he is uber talented. The only problem is a lot of Orange Cassidy's character feeds off the fans. Doing this, going slow, this is, and the fans, a lot of it is made for fan reaction. And although a lot of us Orange Cassidy fans are home watching it and enjoying it, we're not sitting in our TV when he goes like this and everybody at home, look, Daddy, you're not doing that. So, like I said, I don't know what the ratings are going to come out tomorrow. Last week with the ratings, let's talk about it. And by the way, I want to give a little congratulations to AEW referee Bryce Remsburg. He is a new daddy. His wife gave birth to a healthy baby boy. 7 pounds, 7 ounces, I think. So, good for them. Last week, my ratings predictions. I said NXT would score 762. Originally, I said 811. And then I thought that was a little too high. I went with 762. I should have stuck with 811 because I would have been a little bit closer. But last week I said NXT would get 762 and AEW would get 685. I was a little too low on both. So NXT last week I said 762. They scored 792. AEW last week I said 685. They scored 748. So this week is a very interesting week because NXT has increased the last 3 weeks. And if NXT wins this week, I think it's going to be solely for the main event tonight. The main event went a little over a quarter, so you have 2 quarters of ratings that it's going to affect. I don't know if it affects the overall picture because AEW throughout the night, I kind of found myself enjoying AEW's middle part of the show more than NXT. I enjoyed the 8-man tag. I enjoyed Janela and Lance Archer. You know, the other matches were not bad. SCU, you know, versus the Dark Order was kind of meh for me. And the Nyla Rose squash was quick, so it really didn't affect me all that much. But I will say that NXT, this is really intriguing because we wonder how many people tuned in to see Keith Lee win the heavyweight championship. I don't know how much of a rating it's going to pop. 792 is higher than what I thought NXT would get last week. You almost feel like if NXT goes down, even if that last quarter hour or last 2 quarters are high for Keith Lee and Adam Cole, that's got to be considered a big disappointment for WWE. So I'm going to say that NXT is going to be very close to the rating from last week. Last week I said 811, and I changed it. So I'm going to say, I'm going to stay around that number again. I'm going to say NXT scored 799. Only because I don't want to give them a lower rating than last week because of the main event tonight. So I'm going to go with 799 for NXT. AEW, though, I think is going, it feels like it's got to do a little bit better. I really do. I know some fans expected, you know, Mox to take on Brian Cage this week. We already knew the last week or so that it wasn't happening until next week. So that does not hurt the rating, in my opinion. I just feel that there's too many quarter hours with AEW that are going to be strong. So I honestly think AEW is going to get very close to NXT this week. So I said $7.99 for NXT. I'm going to say last week AEW did $7.48. I'm going to say $7.81 for AEW. So $7.99 to $7.81. I think it's going to be a very close ratings fight this week. So we'll see. We'll know within 24 hours. I will talk about it on Friday, and you know, we'll see, you know, how close I was with that, and that's pretty much it. So I want to shout out everybody once again who tuned in live tonight. Much love as always, and please, you know, on the YouTube page, post your feedback. What did you like about both shows today? Do you disagree with anything that I talked about tonight? Definitely post your feedback. And as always, like I said, before you go, if you could hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. If you didn't enjoy the show, give it a thumbs down. You know, but you know, it just allows the show to get a little bit more exposure. So and if you enjoy the channel, subscribe, because we're about to break 14,000, I believe. Oh no, we're at 13,600. You know, I like I said, from Friday to the present, it's amazing how the shows are popping up on YouTube searches. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who is new to checking out the YouTube show, because I know we had a huge influx of new people tuning in tonight. And, you know, don't be a stranger. I'll be back Friday night, 10:05 p.m. Eastern. We'll cover SmackDown, cover any news that transpires between now and then. I'll talk a little bit more about the Matt Riddle stuff. And, you know, I have a few other things on the horizon. And, yeah, we'll have some fun. So Friday night, definitely come back. And I am out of here. Be well, everyone. Talk to you soon. Ciao.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus. I did a boo-boo. I know. I hit the wrong outro.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic, and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.